ISKCON, founder, Acharya, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Vishnupad, Paramahans Parivacharya, Astottara Satta Shri Sriman, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj ki Nam Tagore Vaishnavrinda ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Shri Rup Sanatana Bhattacharya Shri Jiva Gopal Das Raghunath Sadguru Swami ki Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Shyamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan ki Vrindavan Dham ki Srinathri Mayapur Dham ki Jagannath Puri Dham ki Nandamai ki Jamuna ki Tulsi Devi ki Bhakti Devi ki Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Shri Sri Panchatattva ki Shri Sri Gaurnatai ki Madan Mohan ki Lada Shri Devi ki Harinam Sankirtan ki Gaur Premanande. Glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to Sri Guru and Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. What's happening? You tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. I feel good. Mucho dobra. So, the schedule continues with more of the philosophy activities centered around Lord Krishna today. But we'll go into the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. For this particular time. I notice devotees when they come in, they always pay their obeisances by the stairs. It's easy, you come in, you're ring the bell, and you go in front of Prabhupada to pay obeisances. That's the etiquette. You probably offer your respects to Prabhupada. Over there, it's nice, but the idea is you go first to Prabhupada, or you can offer your obeisances to, when you come in, to all the devotees, and you go to Prabhupada, and you go there. That's actually the whole system, 1, 2, 3. If you can't do all 3, you should go at least to Prabhupada. If you go there, then you should go to Prabhupada. Because if we don't offer respects to Prabhupada, we're not really in the temple. We're just sitting here, but we haven't gotten to the temple yet. Prabhupada brings us into the temple.
You usually do it steps and then Prabhupada.
If you want to do 3, I do 2. Sometimes I do 3. I come in, I offer there to the assembled devotees, because devotees usually offer me respect, so I return that. But then I always go to Prabhupada, even if it doesn't matter whether you're a Prabhupada disciple or not, you should still go to Prabhupada. And then you can go to the altar. Or, if you want to do it, but then in other words, whatever system you do, Prabhupada has to be included in it. Somehow, you should always go to the Vyasa stuff. But he is the entrance, and we can't really approach the Lord unless we approach the Lord through his devotee. Okay, so there's some really important verses that are quite what we say, fundamental. These are some of Prabhupada's favorite verses. So I'll do this one verse, I'll chant the Sanskrit, and then we can all do the word for word together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Namo Videva Udakiratkai Vivaitanyat Tapiyakayanamamri Dhamadhichittaha Sachetato Mukha Chitesta Indriyartam Maya Sukayam Baramam Bhuvagyatam Vibhudan. Word for word. Na, not. Eva, certainly. Udvijay, I am disturbed or afraid. Para, O Supreme. Duratyaya, insurmountable or very difficult to cross. Vaitaranya, of the Vaitarani, the river of the material world. Tvatvya, of your Lordship's glories and activities. Gayana, from chanting or distributing. Maha-amrita, in the great ocean of nectarian spiritual bliss. Magnichitta, whose consciousness is absorbed. So Che, I am simply lamenting. Tata, from that. Vimukkhachetasa, the fools and rascals who are bereft of Krishna consciousness. Indriyartha, in sense gratification. Maya Sukaya, for temporary illusory happiness. But the false burden or responsibility of maintaining one's family, society, and nation, and elaborate arrangements for that purpose. Urvahata, who are lifting by making grand plans for this arrangement. Vimudan, although all of them are nothing but fools and rascals, I am thinking of them also. You can see how Prabhupada expanded the meaning of the words. Translation. O best of great personalities. So Prahlad Maharaj is addressing Lord Srimati. O best of great personalities, I'm not at all afraid of material existence. For wherever I stay, I'm fully absorbed in thoughts of you, glories, and activity. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I'm simply concerned with love for them. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Throughout the entire world, everyone is making big plans to adjust, big plans to adjust the miseries of the material world. And this is true at the present and in the past and in the future. Prabhupada makes this point. This is the constant activity of the conditioned souls, making plans to adjust this world to avoid miseries and to find happiness. So that's the nature of how the living entities live their life from day to day. They plan for happiness happiness, or they plan to do things which will bring them immediate or future happiness, and they very carefully try to avoid those things which cause them misery or distress. So that goes on as life in this world. Looking for happiness, avoiding the miseries. One who has that vision can see that everyone is doing these two things. Okay, so Prabhupada goes on. Nonetheless, although they make elaborate political, social, and cultural plans, they've all been described here as vimuha. So it's interesting, the word vimuha, Prabhupada says fools. So mudha means fool, but vimuha means great fool. The material world has been described in the Bhagavad Gita as dukkhalayam asastratam, temporary and miserable. But these fools are trying to turn the material world into sukhalayam, a place of happiness, not knowing how everything acts by the arrangement of the material world, which works in her own way. Prakriti kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasya ahankara vimudātmā kartaha miti manita. The bewildered soul, under the influence of the three modes of nature, thinks to be the doer of activities that are actually carried out by nature. So Prabhupada quotes Krišna. Krišna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he says it twice in two different places, this world is temporary and it's miserable. So we can look at that, and this is the summation of everything in this world. Nothing is lasting, and everything is miserable. And you might say because it's all miserable, it's good it's not lasting. That's one way to look at it from a positive point of view. But ultimately, and all the plans that people make are all destroyed by time. So whatever success one gets, time ultimately takes it all away. And in the meantime, to struggle to achieve success through one's plans and to find happiness is not there. It's just an idea. When you ask people, are you're happy? We'll say they have plans to become happy in the future. Because you can't go on in this material world unless you actually think it'll get better. Everyone's thinking it's get better. It'll get better. It doesn't get better, but everyone's thinking it's going to get better. This is the way the material world is. It's just, it gives you the idea that if you just simply go in a certain direction, things will get better by material adjustment and by, and Prabhupada says, not plans, but elaborate plans, big, gigantic plans for happiness. On family levels, on society levels, country levels, and then you have the big thinkers, how to make the world successfully happy. So this is going on. But here, Bhagavad Gita says, they don't know that they're not the doer. Material energy is pushing things in a certain direction. Everyone is being moved by that energy and thinking, oh, I'm doing it. But one can think in this way. I have my plans, and I'm doing it, but it doesn't come out according to the way I want it. So there must be something wrong with either my plans or the way I'm doing it. So you adjust the plan or you adjust the way you do it, then it doesn't come out again. So this goes on because there's another energy, which is the material energy, that is actually acting in such a way as to give the results of the activity, even that may be different than one's plans, which is usually the case. Even if people get what they want, still they don't get the happiness that they're looking for in the activity. They may get their desired, what we say, physical result. I want this, I wanted to build this nice building so I could, have it, rent it, and be happy in it. I got it, but it's not happening. So this is how material energy is. Material energy is under the control of Krishna, not under the control of the foolish materialists who think that I can control it. They can adjust it, but they can't control it. You just like if you work for a particular person in a particular office, you may adjust something, but ultimately you can't control the office because that's not your area of control. You may adjust what you do in that area. But ultimately on a larger level, so the energies of the Lord are working, goodness, passion, ignorance, to bring about a certain consciousness based on the desire of the living entity and also bringing a certain result. So everyone's struggling to bring about certain results and achieve happiness, because happiness is explained. Everyone wants happiness. Everyone is looking for happiness, for satisfaction through activity. And Prabhupada goes on. There is a plan for material nature, personally known as Durga, to punish the demons. Although the demons, the asuras, the godless demons, struggle for existence, they are directly attacked by the goddess Durga, who is equipped with 10 hands with different types of weapons to punish them. She is carried by her lion carrier with the modes of passion and ignorance. Everyone struggles very hard to fight through the modes of passion and ignorance and conquer material nature, but at the end everyone is vanquished by nature's laws. So here, Prabhupada points out demons, those who are very much against God and very Asuryam Bhavam Astritam. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that there's 4 types of people who never come to Krishna conscious. Avajanti Mamudham Manusintan. That's not the verse. What is that verse? 7:15 in Bhagavad Gita. Where's our scholars? 7:15. Who has a Bhagavad Gita? 7:15. Four kinds of people who never take the Krishna consciousness. What's the first word? Namam duskritina mudha prapadyante naradava maya apariti jnanam surabam asritam. 4 kinds of people never take the Krishna consciousness. What are those 4? The Namam, what's the first? Namam duskritina mudha. That's the gross fool. He likes to sit in front of the television, drinks his beer, reads his newspaper, falls asleep on the couch, goes to the movies, eats popcorn, reads, 30 magazines, and just, he's got a job, he works like an ass all day. And he comes home and he thinks that, now I can enjoy, and this is his enjoyment, just gross material happiness, just feeding the senses. Like that. He's more like an ass. He works hard, and all he does is very ordinary, gross, material enjoyment. Smokes his cigarettes, and goes out to the bar on the weekend, like that. These are the mudhas, and they never take the Krishna consciousness. You ask Krishna consciousness, what is this stuff? Hari. What's that name again? Krišna. You can't even say Guru. They can't even speak Krishna's name because they're so much engrossed in the very lowest forms of sense gratification. Namam duskriti mudha prapadyante naradava. And another kind of people, they are very eager to build social and political institutions, thinking that by propagating these different institutions, then people will have a better life. So they open up all kinds of welfare programs, and they're very interested in making the countries better by elections, through political programs, and they open up different welfare organizations and various types of activities, simply to make the society more materially developed. Naradama. And Narada means that they can't understand that God is ultimately the goal of life. They think if we can build better buildings, have better politicians, have more schools, have more, hospitals, we can just develop the society, better roads for cars to drive on. They're thinking these are the things that will make life worth living, and everyone will be happy. So they're called Naradama. Nara means man, and Adama means lowest. Lowest of the mankind. They can't understand. Naradama. Namam duskritim guna papadyante Naradama. Thinking social and political proliferating these things will build a happy life in this world. Maya aparita jnana. Here we go. The scientists, the professors, the academicians, the people with some great learnings. They have PhD, DHG, DOG, FIC. Prabhupada was looking through one encyclopedia that says FIC because of a lot of names. So someone asked Prabhupada, what does FIC mean? Prabhupada says face in crowd. Just another face in the crowd. I got a BA, I got a PhD. PhD means permanent head damage. So, all these nice letters next to their names. And I remember I went to one professor's office. I was supposed to give a class in his class. And his office ceiling was higher than this. He had books on 3 walls that went all the way up to the top. You couldn't even reach the books. And so many hundreds and hundreds of books. I don't know on what. I don't know. So they read and they have so much education and knowledge, but they can't even tie their shoes. They call it the foolish professors. And they do experiments, they try to make space programs, they try to discover the cures for different kinds of diseases. They're propagating education, as everyone should be educated in knowing how to use a computer. So these are the Maya Aparita Jnanas. Maya means illusion, and Aparita Jnana means knowledge. Jnana means knowledge. Maya has stolen their intelligence. Their knowledge has been stolen by Maya. And then the last one we're hearing here, Surambhagamasritam, the demons. People who are atheists, they hate God, or they don't believe in God, and they're always making plans to destroy religion. Or they're propagating atheism in the name of religion, and saying that humanism, we should, just like the humanistic movement, it's all around the world now. They're gross atheists. They believe that we should be humans, and be nice humans. Why do we need God? God just interferes with all of our happiness. And we have to work on this level. God is just the opiate of the people. Opiate means a kind of a drug that keeps people away from doing the necessities of life and working hard like bulldogs. So there's a class of people who are known as atheists. Those people are, you go do Harinam and they hear it, they either scream or run away. Or they call you bad names. or something. So these are the four types of people who never take to Krishna consciousness. And Bhagavad Gita explains these are the characteristics of these types of people. So Prabhupada's mentioning the demons here. There's a river known as Vaiktarani between the material and spiritual worlds. And one must cross this river to reach the other side, or the spiritual world. This is extremely difficult. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Daiviyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Daragyaya, this divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes of material nature is difficult to overcome. The word Daragyaya, meaning very difficult, is used here. Therefore, one cannot surpass the stringent laws of material energy except by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Nonetheless, although the materialists are baffled in their plans, they try again and again to become happy in this material world. They are described here as Vimuda, first class fools. So the getting beyond the material energy is very difficult. So this verse quoted by Krishna, spoken by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, he uses the word divine. It's interesting. Krishna says this material energy is my energy, Mama Maya, and it's Daivi, it's divine. It is spiritual by nature, but it is divine in the sense that it's coming from this divine source. Anything that comes from God is divine. But it works in a different way than the spiritual energy. It entraps the living entity into activities which are against their spiritual nature. Therefore, to get over this material energy, Krishna says, is very difficult. What Prabhupada's saying here, and he doesn't explain it, but the point is, he says there's a river that divides the material and spiritual world. The yogis, through their mechanical yoga systems, try to raise their consciousness outside of the body and then project themselves into the spiritual realm. But that's, a lot of times it fails, because it's not so easy, as Prabhupada said, to get beyond the material energy, unless one is an accomplished yogi. And then only he may get to the Brahma Jyoti, the impersonal aspect. And then again, Aruna Krišna, Padam Padam Padantiyata. He falls down again, because he doesn't reach what we say bhakti yoga, or pure devotional service. He still comes back. So what Krishna says here, he makes it simple. He says, if you surrender to me, I'll take you across. I'll bring you across this divine energy. Krishna gives you the people think, to get over the struggle for material energy, they try so many plans. It's right, I don't know if you read the newspapers or hear the news, there's always some new plan to be happy, right? It's like, this will work, that will work. So we know they're always thinking, we haven't become happy yet, but we know there's happiness somewhere. So we're going to try this plan. And then, while they're making their plans, they're thinking this is going to work. And Krishna in the heart tells them, go for it. Because Krishna's fulfilling their desire. So they get inspired by their own, what we say, intelligence. And the intelligence just drives them to make more and more plans for material happiness. Or, I mean, your country, if you look at it, compared to the many countries in the world, it's not so developed. It's not so developed. You come to some really, I mean, if you go to Ljubljana city, it's kind of like a city. But compared to many of the biggest cities in the world, it looks like a park. So you go to many of these big places, and you got huge buildings and various types of roadways, and so it's a really sophisticated, complicated complex of various types of structures. And so many things are going on. But so is crime and drugs. more developed the cities are, you see there's more crime. So they keep trying to make better plans, and they also increase more and more sinful activities. This is the way the world is going. Okay, so now Prabhupada changes and he says, as for Prahlad Maharaj, he's not at all unhappy. For although he was in the material world, he was full of Krishna consciousness. Those who are Krishna conscious trying to serve the Lord are not unhappy, whereas one who has no assets in Krishna consciousness and in struggle for existence is not only foolish but extremely unhappy also. Prahlad Maharaj was happy and unhappy simultaneously. He felt happiness and transcendental bliss because of his being Krishna conscious. Yet he felt great unhappiness for the fools and rascals who make elaborate plans to be happy in this material world. Now here, it's a very interesting point. Prahlad Maharaj, he's a great soul. He's self-realized. He's seeing Krishna everywhere. He's feeling the presence of Krishna. He's happy. He's joyful. He has no desires for anything material. He simply wants to continue his service to the Lord, knowing that it brings him greater and greater happiness. But at the same time, he's thinking, or Prabhupada said, Prahlad Maharaj is simultaneously happy and unhappy. What is his unhappiness? He's seeing others who he knows are also a part of Krishna. They're Krishna's eternals. But they're acting in the wrong way. They're struggling hard for material. So he feels kind of the unhappiness that the mother sees when the child becomes hurt. Maybe the child hurts himself. And the mother also feels sorry, or what we say, compassionate. The unhappiness of a compassionate parent towards a naughty child. So this is Prahlad Maharaj. He's like that. He's concerned for others. He's not simply wallowing in his own happiness and thinking, that's all. That's all. I don't care about, you guys are in Maya, too bad. No, he wants to make others happy. Why? One, because a great devotee knows that the more you're connected to Krishna, the more you're connected to others also. The more you're connected to Krishna. So there's a sense of what we say, relationships that come with other living entities that is experienced as one grows in their relationship with Krishna. One sees and experiences that other living entities, their happiness becomes my happiness and their unhappiness becomes my unhappiness. So it's a mood of compassion and a mood of concern. So Prahlad Maharaj in the verse says, he says, I am simply concerned with love for them. Because he loves Krishna, he also loves all of Krishna's parts and parcels. So this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam is one of the most quoted verses by Srila Prabhupada. And you can see, as we explain the different points here, that Krishna consciousness is the perfection of life. Sometimes Bhakti Siddhanta used to say, there's only one problem in the world. This is a great scholar, one of the greatest sadhus, saints in the history of Vaishnava culture. He said there's only one problem, lack of Krishna consciousness. If you talk to people, they'll say there's this problem, there's this problem, there's this problem. And the whole list of problems go down the line. But the more you become Krishna conscious, the more your problems don't exist anymore, they go away. It's like you remove yourself from the situation by creating a consciousness that is transcendental from the situation. And automatically the situation changes. Where Prahlad Maharaj is seeing all living entities as parts and parcels with great love, he's not experiencing what they're experiencing, the suffering they're experiencing. Although he might, Prabhupada says, he's also in the material world, but he's Krishna conscious. Therefore, although he's in the material world, he's not in the material world. Because when you're in Krishna conscious, you're with Krishna. And therefore, Krishna is never in the material world. Krishna is in the spiritual world. So one who puts themselves, their consciousness in Krishna becomes, that consciousness becomes Krishnized. With Krishna. Krishna is spiritualized, we might say. So he feels happiness and at the same time unhappiness. He wants to preach. He wants to make a difference. And as Prahlad Maharaj grew up, he became the ruler of all of the Daityas, the demons, and he actually became a great king, and he ruled the world. He ruled parts of the world in a Krishna conscious way. A lot of his later life is not mentioned in the Bhagavatam. It's not at all mentioned, but it's mentioned in other Puranas like that. Okay, so any questions? Yes, Prabhu.
In the beginning of 8th chapter,
8th chapter?
Krishna mentions definition of karma, and he simply says that's the activity that is going to bring you another body. And now I wanted to ask, because sometimes Krishna passes some judgment or gives a definition that seems too simple from our viewpoint, but in between, I mean, there are so many details about karma, but as if Krishna says, oh, that's not important, you just worry about that it is going to bring you another body and don't bother with details, just accept what I'm telling you. And similar with this list of people who do not surrender, it's, when I read this commentary from in Bhagavad Gita, I wondered, this the lowest of mankind. Somehow, it's as
Didn't make sense.
No, it makes sense, but I mean, there are lower people, I think, in my opinion. But Krishna lists all those people, all those humanists, and who are trying to make. But I kind of understand what is Krishna trying to say. I mean,
why is he called the lowest of men?
Yeah, for example, why? Because they are leading people astray, probably, no? Because this is the lowest activity.
Exactly.
No?
Yeah, you actually hit it. Because they're thinking that this is the solution, and they're teaching other people the same thing.
And they think they're very nice. I meet such people on the street.
Yeah,
they think, oh, I'm so nice, and you are also nice, and things. But it's something is very wrong with that also. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not nice.
Yeah, I'm not nice, and they're nice.
Well, they're not. The devotees are always nice because they're connected to Krishna. And the thing is that Krishna mentions there's nothing you can really tell these people. They'll never change. If they do change, they're not one of that category. It's the people who never change. Who never change, no matter what. They're fixed on this idea of social, political upliftment of society. And they center their whole life around that. And, they may have nice manners on the external point because it's good business to be a nice guy. It's really bad business to be a bad guy. If you really want to make friends and influence people, you have to be nice. Some people think, well, I didn't get anything I wanted by being nasty. Let me try being nice, maybe I'll get what I want. Yeah, they try to adjust their consciousness in such a way as to fulfill their desires. If I can get what I want by being nasty, that's it. The goal is not the external, the goal is their personal selfish desires. And this goes on. I mean, the big think tanks all over the world and various various types of institutions for social and political levels. Governments are becoming more and more, what would I say, not only influential in people's lives, but becoming more and more of the part of the society. Practically everyone works for the government nowadays, in one sense or another. I think in America, the last statistic I heard, which was many years ago, it's even more now, that 51% of the population is employed in some kind of government type of agency. Either social governments, or local governments, state governments, or what we say national government jobs.
They also take you 50-60% of your money.
Yeah, they give you some money, but they take it back and say, this is what we need to keep you going. This is our compassion on you. We take your money so we can spend it for you, but we never see it. It's called Social Security. Have you heard of that? So there's various types of institutions. And governments, you'll see it. It's already happening. If you just look, governments will become more and more influential. And pretty soon they'll swallow up the populations. They want to control your life down to the iota. I know in America, they know everything about every citizen in America. They have files on everybody. You can go, I'm on file. I know I am because they told me. I used to be a communist revolutionary. That was my history. People are communist. But when I joined Hare Krishna movement, 2 government agents came to see me. I said, we lost track of your activities. What happened? I said, I became a Hare Krishna now. More communists. For 2 hours I had to talk to these guys after I first joined the Hare Krishna movement. And they were convinced that he's one of these, what we say, he's dropped out of society. He's not going to make any more problems for political revolutions. We're making a spiritual revolution. I thought this political revolutions don't work. Spiritual revolutions are the actual revolutions. So yeah, they have files on everybody. At least I know the United States and America does. I don't know about all the other countries. But they want to get everyone on file. That's their whole thing, just to propagate this idea of control. Yes?
Who was Prahlad Maharaj in his previous life, and what were the activities that he had to go through so many tribulations, but at the same time he had darshan?
Yeah, actually Prahlad Maharaj speaks to Vyasadeva in the first canto of Bhagavatam. And I think it's in the 5th chapter, 5th and 6th chapter of first canto. And he explains how he became Narada Muni. That's Narada Muni. No. Prahlad Maharaj? I'm sorry, I mixed him up. Prahlad Maharaj was, it says that it says how he became Prahlad Maharaj, at least. He was with a prostitute, and they had a fight, and then he was so angry with the prostitute that he fasted on that day. And the day that he fasted was Nrsimhadeva's appearance day. And then he got some benefit from that. That's the only story I know. A little research is required, I think, to find out the history of Prahlad Maharaj. Yes?
I would have a question. about adjusting the material world. With Krishna conscious and the ISKCON, we are also adjusting material world to be more happiness. We are not.
We're just doing our service, Krishna justice.
We are doing just our service. So this is the proof and guarantee that we will get happiness at the end.
Not through adjustment, but through Krishna consciousness. You can adjust material energy endlessly, and you won't get any happiness. Because material energy is not adjustable by you.
So with Krishna
When a living entity is born in this material world, they have so much happiness and so much misery coming to them. When you're born, you're, what can you say, how would you use the example? Your blueprint of your life is already there. You got this much happiness, you got this much distress. So, you might try to adjust to increase your happiness and decrease your distress, but you can't. All you can do is change how your happiness and distress comes. You go from one situation to another, trying to get more happiness, but then again, distress will come in another form. An example, maybe very cold countries are considered to be a very distressful, miserable life. So a person thinks, let me move to a warm country and I'll have more happiness. So you do that. And what happens, then you get distress in another form. You fall off your bicycle, break your leg, or some dog bites you or something. In other words, the happiness and distress in life is already programmed as soon as you take birth. You can't change that. All you can do is become Krishna conscious, and then you transcend your happiness and distress and you come to what is called Brahma Sokya, that is spiritual happiness. Then you get real happiness, that happiness that's not dependent on material situations, but is the nature of the soul's relationship with Krishna. So you have an unlimited opportunity to achieve happiness as you open up your heart and life to Krishna. But as you try to adjust this material energy, you can adjust it, but you can't adjust the happiness and distress. That's fixed.
Thank you.
Does that help? Does that help?
Yeah, it is, because I was thinking that you are adjusting your life with getting into Krishna conscious, but now I understand that if you have your amount of happiness and distress, just with the Krishna conscious you can also get through the distress in a way that...
No, you get no more, your distress goes when you become Krishna conscious. You're not going to, your distress will be gone. You kill, you destroy your material happiness and your material distress, and you get spiritual happiness. So your distress decreases. Prabhupada said, maybe in your last life you committed a murder, and therefore somehow you were not punished by that murder because of that. And then you died, you took birth the next life, and somehow you came to Krishna consciousness. And then you cut your finger. So, in other words, you get a little tiny reaction for a very bad crime when you come to Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness reduces all your suffering. And ultimately there will be no more suffering. But it also reduces your material happiness too.
But this is good.
It's very good.
This is very good. I love it.
Yes. Yakadobra.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Very good. Because material happiness is just a little better than material distress. It's another form of distress. Yes?
Hare Krishna. I have a question. I heard explanation that in Vedic culture that they avoid this false politeness by being insisting being always personal, and they don't say so much sorry and thank you like in English language. It's a form of being very polite. You have to say always thank you or I'm sorry, but in
You mean you're talking about a cultural thing? It's more like a cultural.
Yes, but I understood that because Western society is impersonal, that this is a sign of being impersonal.
By not saying happiness, by not saying thank you and sorry like that.
Yeah, I heard this explanation.
Well, I think the explanation is the Vedic culture is that the tradition is changing now because people are becoming more westernized. But in Vedic culture, if you do something for someone and that person says thank you, it's like an insult. Because, yeah, why? Because I'm doing it for you, I'm not asking for anything from you. And if you're thanking me, you're putting me on the level of a business deal. That I'm, So, because the mood of the Vedic culture is service. And so that's so much ingrained in people's life that it's natural to want to serve other people. And it's natural for others to accept service and also to give service. So the idea of thank you puts it on it formalizes the thing, rather than it takes it away from the person. Like that.
So should we follow this?
It's up to you. Whatever you feel comfortable with. But in Western culture, I know now the people from India who have been brought up in Vedic culture come to the West, they also say thank you. Like that, because they follow the general custom. So it's changing. Yeah, I hope that helps, yes.
Yeah, in that verse, which you are explaining, four kinds of people never take Krishna consciousness, and one of them are scholars, scientists, academic people. So
The big brains.
big brains. But on the other hand, Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita that big brains, if people we are following them. So, like one person become a big person, so a mass of people are following them. So why doesn't those kind of persons never take Krishna consciousness? Because they are like big names?
Because they're an illusion that they're intelligent and that they have understood the goal of life. The goal of life is to amass an amount of intelligence and try to explore deeper into the material energy and therefore control the material energy. To try to. And so the word is Maya Aparita Gyan. Their knowledge is stolen by illusion. So when illusion steals your knowledge, you think you're okay, but you're not. Their intelligence makes them think that this is success, but that's not. Success is not to propagate material happiness. Success is to become Krishna conscious person, or develop a relationship with God. So they see that the devotees are just cop-outs in society, they're not contributing anything. Sometimes I know maybe some Sankirtan devotees, I know at least in many Western countries, you go and you approach someone and they say, get a job, go to work, why are you begging? I mean, that's happened to me a few times, get a job. I said to one person, I retired when I was 25. That's when I joined our Krishna movement, I was 25. So they think, you're not really contributing anything to society, or you become parasites. But actually, Prabhupada says, we are not parasites because our father is rich. We're living off our father, and our father is taking care of us. You have rejected your father, and therefore you're working like an ass. If you leave your father, who's a very wealthy person, and you go to try to make it on your own, then you have to struggle unnecessarily. But devotees know, by I serve Krishna, Krishna will take care of me. He does. Like that. So there's a difference.
Yeah, but why Krishna allows that? Because they are big people, so if they will become Krishna conscious, they will...
Well, we're trying to get the mudhas to come. We try. Once in a while, one of them pops out and starts to say something different. Like this one famous atheist, Stephen Hawkins, you've heard of him?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Something just recently happened in his life. I don't know if you heard. You did. His brother was, he was very close to his brother. His brother was like him, but his brother had a near-death experience. He died, but he didn't die. He went into this, what we say, they call it NDE, near-death experience, where you go to another realm and people, there's these personalities who appear to you and they decide whether you should live or end your body at that point. So he had that experience. He went into this other realm and he saw these people and they gave him another chance and put him back into the material world. So when he came back, he told his brother, Steve. And so now, that completely destroyed a lot of his philosophy. But he still doesn't acknowledge God. All he acknowledges is there may be something out there that's a little bit better than what I'm saying. So he didn't move too much, but he moved a little bit. So sometimes people have that near-death experience. I met so many people who had near-death experience. I know one lady, she almost died 3 times. It happens to ladies who during childbirth. Sometimes childbirth is very difficult for a woman, and she actually dies at childbirth, and she sometimes comes back again because of an arrangement. I met one lady 3 times she went through her system. One of the highest rates of women dying at childbirth is in the United States of America, in the world. It leads the world in death. Women who die at the time they give birth. It's the highest. I'm not trying to discourage ladies from having babies. That's not my program here. But I'm just explaining how these near-death experiences happen. They happen quite often. And people change their life. They're given another chance. They understand it as, I'm not this body, I'm something different in this body. They come back into their body. It happens in operations too. When people have heart operations or very strong surgical operations, they actually leave their body and watch the operation from another perspective. One lady, she had an operation and she was under an anesthesia. And then she came back and then she said to the doctor, why are you using all that bad language during the time I was at your honor? He said, how did you know? She said, well, I was watching. She left her body and could see the doctor operating on her body from another point in the room. It happens. I mean, some of you may have had near-death experiences. It happens a lot. People leave their body and then come back in their body again. The subtle body separates from the gross body, and the mind and intelligence take the soul to a different realm. But then again, because the mind connection is broken, but the heart connection is still there. Because the heart connection is still there, the soul returns to the body. As soon as the heart connection is broken, then the soul is moving it in another area. Yes, Mukunda, is this correct? Oh, I'm sure you know. Yeah, so this is, how many of you had near-death experiences? Any of you here?
My son.
Yeah, your son had it. It's common, it's quite common. I had one when I was really young. I felt felt myself leaving the body, and I was going, ooh. And then I said, I'm not ready. And all of a sudden I was back in my body. As soon as I said, I'm not ready, immediately, instantaneously, I was back. But I could feel myself leaving. I was just going. I was moving away from my body. So it happens. Many people have that experience. And this just proves our philosophy that you are different than your body. Sometimes people need to have an actual experience to understand that this is the actual truth. Yes, there was another question somewhere? Yes. Gopal? Sudra Gopal.
How did Prahlada also Bali Maharaj were pure devotees, but they ruled two demons. They were like surrounded with all these demons all the time. So how did they manage to...
Aren't we surrounded by demons all the time? Some just go out on the street. You just remember the picture. The thing is, if you don't hate anybody, you can, people feel that, even demons can feel that to a certain extent. Animals are very sensitive to that. If you're fearful of an animal will become fearful of you and sometimes maybe attack you. But if you're not fearful, then they don't, and you can see that they are also part of Krishna. They won't bother you, no matter how vicious they are.
But they have to compromise sometimes. For example, I don't know, a few days ago, in one lecture, it was, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was Prahlada Maharaj that he got some demigods got this, demons got some alcohol or something, and Prahlada Maharaj was, yes, when Prithu Maharaj was sweeping the earth, the cow, so,
Oh yeah.
for example, this example and things like this, so how to understand this?
That Prahlada Maharaj is so closely associated with the demons?
Yes, he was like, he
Well,
was
the son of a demon.
like half, and then they got alcohol, and he was half to milk.
There's a race of people called Daityas, which are demons. He wasn't a demon in consciousness, but he came from a demon dynasty. His father was a demon, and then when his father was killed, he took the throne and ruled the demons, although he was a devotee. But he wasn't like them, he was just from that dynasty. Yeah, Bali Maharaj was the grandson of Prahlada Maharaj. Prahlada Maharaj's son was Virochan, who was the father of Bali. But Virochan and Bali was the king of the demons also. But still, because he had certain good qualities, he got the mercy of the Lord. He happened to be very generous towards the Brahmanas. Many demons followed Vedic culture in those days. Although they were demons, still they followed some of the principles of Vedic culture, respecting certain classes of people. But the respect was based on personal interest. Just like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that there's a demon might think, if I give charity, then I'll benefit. So many demons, people who have that mentality like demons, they're very charitable. They open up hospitals, they support institutions, because they know they want to use their money, but at the same time they know that you give in charity, you always get something back. And it's true. There's a shastra called Shastra Dan, that if you give in charity, according to who you give to, you get so much reciprocation. give to an ordinary person, you get back the same amount. If you give to a highly elevated, intelligent person, you get double back. If you give to a Brahmin, you get 10 times back. If you give to a qualified Dvija Brahmin, it comes back hundreds of times. If you give to a Vaishnava, it comes back unlimited. So giving and charity always, you like that, huh? Don't lose it though. It's just the law of nature that when you give something, you get reciprocated. Just like if you give out something negative, you get it back. If you give out something positive, it comes back in proportion. Same thing. So the demon people who Bali knew that. Giving in charity means I increase my own power. More and more. I become, and they look, sometimes the demons want to look like nice people. And so it's also a way to look nice, to be popular amongst a broader mass of people. I mean, some of the greatest politicians in the history of the world were really big demons. There was one person who was a great politician, and he died, and they didn't let anybody see his body. But what the talk was that it turned into a Rakshasa at the time of death. He was actually a Rakshasa. Prabhupada said that. He said, Prabhupada went like this. He went like this. How did he do it? No, he went like this. He went like this. 7 Rakshasas are ruling the world. 7. Now these big, powerful Rakshasas. They have big, you don't even know their names. They don't appear in the news. But they're controlling all the governments and the corporations. Big demons. They're actually coming from other planets. They're not humans. Welcome to the material world. You thought it was different, didn't you? What you read on the news is just to keep you diverted from the truth. And behind all the big governments, big powerful demons are controlling governments. Most of them some of them sit on corporate boards at very highly placed business institutions. And they make policy like that. Through corporate adjustment, they organize governments. That's what government, Prabhupada would say, even Prabhupada, when devotees would ask, if we elect the devotee to become a government leader, then we can change the world. Prabhupada said, you can't really do much, because you're really controlled by the situation you put yourself in. And if you go too far one way or the other, they kill you or kick you out either way. That's what happened to Kennedy. He went too much he was such a nice person, they killed him. Tried to help people on a different level. So you can only do so much. Because everything is controlled on higher levels. Big demons. You don't even know their names. I've studied this. So just in case you were wondering where I'm getting this information. I don't study it anymore because now I study Bible. So I've become a good boy now. But I used to study this stuff about 20 years ago, carefully and very thoroughly. And so it's easy to understand, and anybody can find this information. The thing is, you can't do anything about it because it's just so highly controlled. And Prabhupada says, generally, he says, there's an eternal battle between the Devas and the Asuras. Both are trying to control people's lives. The Devas want to bring the people to Krishna, the Asuras want to bring people down. They want to control them and exploit them and I mentioned this in class the other day, the element of power is a greater source of happiness than any kind of happiness in this world. It's like, people say, well, sex life is the greatest happiness. It's up there as far as material enjoyment is concerned. But higher than that is the power, control, position, influence, to control people. It's trying to take the place of God. And it's an intoxication. The more power they get, the more power they want. They try to get more and more and more power. Hare Krishna. So yeah, so I'm just giving, we got a little bit diverted here. I think Mukunda knows all this. He associated with some of these people. Welcome home. Back to the... Krishna brought you back. It's good. So yeah, we're safe in the association of devotees. So yeah, so this is... The material world is a very complex arrangement for exploitation. That's all it is. If we don't understand, if we read Prabhupada's books, we have to understand what this place is. It's simply a jailhouse, that's all. So, material world is a jailhouse. We are not these bodies, we're pure souls, we belong to Krishna, spiritual world. We're here somehow trying to get back to Krishna. And as we try to get back to Krishna, we feel the happiness of the journey that's bringing us back to Krishna, through chanting, dancing, prasada. And eventually at the end of life, Tattva Deham Purna Janmani Naiti Mameti Sarjana. And one goes back to Krishna in the spiritual world, never takes birth again in this material world. And when one gets back to the spiritual world, one will remember all their births in this material world. It's simply a bad dream. So that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago, Gora Chandra Mole, Gora Nidra Jaya Maya, Visachira Kole, Hare Krishna. Material life is sleeping consciousness. Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, I have an announcement. We have a special sale on that book, Holy Jail, tonight. The thing that says 10 euros there. Just tonight, 5 euros. Anybody wants to buy a copy of the book? Yeah. 5 euros. If you don't have 5 euros, we'll take 4. If you don't have 4, we'll take 3. But we're trying to get 5. Okay. And it's a nice book. Not because I wrote it, but because it talks about people who are in jail and become Krishna conscious. There's really many nice stories in there. How people's lives have been transformed simply by Prabhupada's books and by through chanting of the holy names. It's a wonderful read. It's a lot of nice stories, histories, artwork, poetry. So take a look at it, and if you decide you may want to get it, see Somadachi. be happy to take your 5 years. Thank you. Prabhupada ki
Jai.